Dodo Modern Poets at the beginning of our autumn-winter season at the Poetry Cafe. Thank you for coming along tonight. We're continuing our 25th anniversary celebration. Our first show was in Carshalton in July 1989, so we're still standing. And just to say, if you've not been to the Poetry Cafe before, you probably found the bar, which is upstairs, the loser at the back. The show will be in two halves, traditionally. Each half will last about 40 minutes and we'll have a 20-minute break in the middle. So if you're thinking about transport, we should have done and dusted it all by about 10. But then if you can stay around, the bar is open till 11. So you can talk to the poets or talk amongst yourselves. We've got a fantastic lineup tonight. Apart from myself, all the poets who are on tonight have not performed at Dodo Modern Poets before. We've sort of talent spotted all of them at a really great open mic event here, which takes place every Thursday, the first Thursday of every month in the Poetry Cafe, called Poetry at 3. So if you're ever free on a Thursday afternoon, come to that. You can read your own poems and hear anything up to 25 other readers, so it's really a good place to see established and new writers, work in progress and so on. So that's it. Any questions, ask me later. There are some books on sale, and tonight we have on our bill Stuart Larner, Claire Mulley, Lara Kennedy, myself, I'm Patric Cunnane. I'll tell you more about the other poets as I introduce them, but I'm going to kick off with a few poems. Spleen. My spleen is not keen to be seen. What on earth does it mean? Is it shy of its host, who's not yet a ghost, but striding about on the scene? A scene unseen by my spleen, which may have plans of its own, to cause me to gasp or to groan, but for now is benign and biding its time, till one day it gets me alone. My sinister spleen that's unseen, I worry could one day be mean. I suggest we be friends, or at least make amends, till one of us learns how all of this ends. Until then, let's just remain friends. Okay, it's another warm night. If you're too warm, we can put some blowers on, but for now I'll assume you're okay for the moment. I'm old enough to remember when there was only one Elvis, and last month was the 37th anniversary of Elvis's death. So this is Long Live the King. It's year 37 since the King went to heaven. His name was Elvis, not Roger or Kevin. Long live the King and his songs that were classic. He sprinkled the world with stardust and magic. It's year 37 since the King left the throne. We thought it was over. He never wrote, never phoned. But the music lives on all over the planet, loved by Susie and Pammy and Jilly and Janet, and others whose names are too numerous to mention. The King gets our vote with rarely an abstention. His boots were too big for others to fill. Ask Susie or Janet or Pammy or Jill. They look to the stars where the King shines down. Don't be cruel, they pray. Come reclaim your crown. Many pretenders come in on cue, but there's only one King, only one you. We await your return, we hope it comes soon. Our radiant lad who lights up the moon. When you wiggle your hips and purse your lips, who can deny that it's better than chips? Love is a minefield with many a thorn. Though roses blossomed the day you were born, on a January morn in 35, the King may be dead, the music's alive. As we set off for work, with a song in our hearts, and bodies now made of mainly spare parts, we'll never forget the first time we checked in. The desk clerk, named Jim, said, "Follow me, please. Heartbreak Hotel is mired in despair, but sunshine is coming 'cause the King's on his way. You can stay for a week, you can stay for a day. Get into the groove, just start to move. Kick off your shoes to those rhythm and blues. The American dream has stumbled and fell, but no Elvis fan is ever in hell. Our souls are blessed by the man from Tupelo. Be like Elvis, go man go. Now it's year 37 since the king went to heaven. His name was Elvis, not Roger or Kevin. When darkness descends and we're tempted to cry, we offer our prayers to the man in the sky. If faith is the key to staying alive, no one can beat an old-fashioned jive, where the truth that's so blue is found in the blues. Just ask Janet or Jilly or Pammy or Suze. They know that true love is tender and true. Forget the pretenders, there's only one you. Okay, this is one of a couple of poems for Palestine I wrote during the summer. It's called Smoking Gun, but it could be for refugees anywhere really. There are 17 million refugees worldwide. Around 5 million of those are from Palestine, which is by far the largest group. Smoking gun. They say smoking is bad for you, but imagine you're in a refugee camp and someone hands you a cigarette. What do? You smoke the fucker, greedily, eagerly, because that's all you have between sanity and madness. You smoke the fucker, calmly, after the first desperate drag. Appreciate the friendly fire tickling your lungs. You think, well, it's not as bad as phosphorus gas or losing your sons. What do you do if someone hands you a gun and you're in a refugee camp forever, you and 5 million others? You imagine you might pull the trigger and you're no longer in that refugee camp. You're in that place that even rich people can't escape. Okay, these are two poems for my father. The first one's called Time and the Man. My mother bought broken clocks at jumble sales. My father mended them, spent hours fiddling with the mechanisms, uncoiling the stuck springs. With his sharp electrician's eye and nimble fingers used to separating wires, he pried apart the innards until discovering the secret hurt at the heart of time. Hours later, at tea time, we tiptoed in, found him trance-like, hand cupped to the mechanism, released from its cage of inactivity, tick-tocking rhythmically, majestically, setting time going as shadows crossed the room, and we longed for our Saturday sausages and the coming of the moon. 2. White hat. My father was in the IRA. I make no secret of that. The English were the baddies, we wore the white hat. My father was in the IRA. The English took no prisoners, we killed them back. That's history for you, and our poets are better too. Okay. Well, I am from Irish background, and I went to see the exhibition at the British Museum called The Vikings in Britain, and the clue was in the name. There was no reference to the Vikings in Ireland, of course, although they did set up the capital of Ireland, Dublin, which means dark pool. So I thought I'd just cover this gap in the British Museum's knowledge by explaining to them what happened. So this is Vikings in Ireland. Despite founding its capital, the Vikings were denied 1,000 welcomes, the Irish being no fans of slave traders, pale women or unsalted butter. They had a propensity for the dark stuff, which would eventually be invented and marketed all over the world. They had no need of Scandinavian verse, having many blood-curdling epics of their own, and long memories which didn't forget a single syllable. The Vikings had to make do with taking what they could, and suffering the odd bloody nose in return. They had to learn to chase armies into the hills, only to see them disappear into the bogs and mist, to the sound of echoing red-haired laughter. Such were the perils of invasion, of settling in the dark pool. Denied 1,000 welcomes, at all times under a cloud, no one impressed by their sexy longboats, or the speed with which they silently sailed upriver and back out to sea. Not a damn thing the Vikings could do to get themselves liked. The women spat on their shoes, the men just went on digging peat. 1,000 welcomes? You must be joking. Cool disdain and muttered imprecations were the best they could expect, as they sat on the Liffey and scratched their heads, watching the sun set neutrally over the Wicklow Mountains, making no distinction between visitors and visitees. Each poem you see tonight will be on twice. So this is the last poem in my first set. I'm not going to say anything about it except that it's called Keeping Trout in the Bath. This is my first trout poem, not perhaps a long one. This is because my knowledge of trout is severely limited. I sometimes eat rainbow trout, but am not familiar with their natural habitat. This is because I live by a railway siding many miles from fresh water. Still, trout have been familiar with my small kitchen. Their gutted spines and pop-eyed heads have added resonance to my dustbin. I have placed trout alongside croquet potatoes, red cabbage, sweet corn. I pitied trout in the pan, wondered to what purpose were they born. This is my first trout poem. I'm hoping to keep one as a pet. It can live in the bath, and once a month I'll take it to the vet. Oh, I wish I were a trout, leaping in the river, not a frozen trout in Sainsbury's, competing for attention with sausages and liver. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce the first of our guests tonight, who's Lara Kennedy. Now she comes from Wales.